Good morning, Exorcists. It's time for your daily archive reminder. Lord Decurion. Type 1, manifested in host L99 after his discharge from the military subsequent to multiple diagnoses of disorder, following campaigns, and Kingdom manifested as a perfect recreation of childhood hometown in the mountains, where L99 was a beloved member of the church and community who had never went to war. Executed. TTE approximately 500 minutes, 50 casualties. Fleeing from a past bloody conflict to only invite another. Bringing those 50 into this mess. Anywho. Happy hunting. As above, so below. Hi, hello, and welcome to our little CAIN after chats, this time for Lord Decurion. So first off, what are these little after chats for? What are they? So this is me just going off of how I would organize a hunt or structure the sin mechanically based off some of the domains, the afflictions. All of this just for a fun bit of brainstorming, but also to act as a reminder and some more additional brainstorming for both the admins and the Exorcists, who both in setting and out, well, technically out, but in setting have studied these things, or the possibilities of these manifestations, so you can identify them and be prepared. So a bit of study externally and internally for the game. More of a reminder, really. Like a flashcard you see on someone's desk you're passing by, with lots of scribbles. Anywho, on to what actually makes a sin, the traumas. So for the Lord, that is, what did you lose? What is the main thing you would fix about the world? And who did you regret leaving behind when you ascended to your kingdom? So, with L99, he has it pretty rough. Well, a lot of these hosts are going to. Most do. But discharged from the military after 2 different campaigns and multiple diagnoses of, I'm assuming, some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder. Could be some other disorder, but it's enough for multiple people to diagnose it. So it's probably bad, but especially with what he makes the kingdom manifested as his childhood home, I think what was lost was innocence. Or comfort. I particularly liked the word innocence because of needing to take a life or seeing life leave someone before you over and over and over again in the violent crucible that is warfare. Yeah, that could go bad. That could be rough. But it could also be comfort. That's not just a stranger in a strange place, but you're going from a comfortable childhood to an active war zone. It's a bit more of a jump and a very stark difference of feeling. So, loss of innocence. Or comfort, depending how you look at it. The main thing you would fix. I thought no violence. Like, no war is a bit more broad, especially because he's fleeing and going back to a time before he went to any war. But for some of the domains I have set for later, I do think it's violence in particular. Or, more accurately, in general. I think it's a more general subject, such as violence. Again, to not disturb that peace, break that innocence. Now, for L99, we don't really have any word on who he knew before going to the kingdom. A lot of his close relations are already in that childhood home. Or at least the people are converted to be those close relations. But I assume it was other survivors or veterans from those campaigns. That's who he regrets leaving behind, because he had to have met them and gone through hell with them during those events, but deciding to purposely ignore them to try and hide away in his childhood, or at least his childhood hometown. Now, going on to the manifestation, which has a fun one because this is a lord. So we are going to talk about the manifestation of the kingdom as well, and I guess the role the host plays. So first off, the very ominous faceless shepherd overlooking the flock of this town. And I do think shepherd in the more like, it could be due to a rural nature or area. I think it's also leaning in the religious context, due to the, beloved member of the church being emphasized within the description. Not in the sense of an idol, but just a member. So again, that sense of authority, that's something he looked to as authority, that church, and that community, hence the shepherd, looking over the flock, the community, the church. And even in the picture, having the fence and a large field and what looks, it's probably a barn. But yes, outside of its look, and before we get onto the kingdom, we don't have a cat, but this is a type 1 manifestation, so it is separate from the host, as can also be seen in the picture. But retreating to the past, potentially not too far of a distant past, it's within his lifetime, not thinking to previous eras or fictional moments or perceived parts of history. So a lot of your tech could still likely work. but maybe some hyper-advanced things to this year might not. But on to the domains! First off is Stricture of Memory, which goes back to the whole tech thing I was just mentioning. I kind of jumped the gun there. A commenter was bringing this up on the short itself, and I do think I line up one-to-one with the strictures they had recommended, or had thought that Decurion had. Going one by one still. That past, that childhood home, still retreating into the past, not wanting any current reference to the time period that those wars had already happened. As in, it's not just for the rustic feel, with the image being the hint towards that, but anything that can act as a reminder to those conflicts, or just to the present, showing that those conflicts had happened, that he had gone through that he had ever gone to war. But next I'm thinking, leaning more into the no violence part, Stricture of Control. This also goes once again into the idealized version of his hometown, the idealized version of these people, and the more directly religious theming of Decurion. As for the particular strictures, that one I'm not too sure on. I know I'd pick the entering the Palace of the Lord without praying due to the religious connotations and symbols of the Lord themselves, but as for the rest, like none are directly, hey, avoid violence. That kind of leans into some of the other strictures, but for the perfect idealized community, could be the swearing, could be the uncovering of the skin. It just depends what the specific L99 had in their head at the time of the manifestation, and what they viewed as the wrongs. Similar to all the other questions on what strictures do you think Decurion should have, or other details that I usually ask later. What are the particular 3 items you think are part of Stricture of Control? For the last one, we have Stricture of Narrative. So this is because the Lord, and namely the host, doesn't want this ruined. At all. Which is why I keep flitting between innocence and comfort for the first thing that was lost, because it really wants control over these things. And especially if you're bringing violence. This is one of the things that can directly attempt to stop the violence you're committing against potentially the host, but definitely the Lord. And seeing as the result of the 50 casualties, there was violence. As for the Afflictions, I think it's Kingdom Infection. It's one of the most, comfort-focused of all of them. As in literally the image of comfy, complacent, eating up that KP. The palace itself is this grand church. On the outside, it doesn't look too imposing outside of the steeple that seems to always be in sight no matter where in the kingdom you are. But then you get to the inside of it. Then the inside. Massive, imposing, these grand statues and halls seem to be always filled. Not even always with the actual people that have been abducted by the kingdom, but all the various traces and minor sins of the Lord. The totality of the flock is present. The host sitting amongst them. Community. And potentially when fighting the Lord there, literally having tidal waves of this flock hitting you as it attacks. But those are just my thoughts on Decurion. What do you think for this Lord and for this sin, this archive? But anywho, as one of our favorite tired temerity archivists says, happy hunting. As above, so below.